Hi, this is the 33 guy, and today we're going to talk about a metallurgical anomaly. The short version, I had mentioned this in my YouTube channel. It's called Upcoming Videos, December 2020. So the short version, someone split a steel ball bearing in my hand from 400 miles away. We had it analyzed with electron microscope and did another independent test. I haven't been able to explain how that happened. It was pretty simple. Just it wasn't through known laws of physics. This experience was written up in my thesis. I wrote this thesis between 1980 and 1983. That occurred in 1980. I want to talk a little about Cassandra Fox. She was the gal that split the ball bearing in my hand twice from 400 miles away. So we had met earlier at a bookstore. I don't remember the exact date. And then a month or so later, I was at a party and introduced to her as well. Since that time, that was December 1980, until she passed away 2004, we were very close. The relationship changed different times, but we were always remained very close friends. And please go to that website. Check out her unique story. In that website, there is a story about this metallurgical anomaly, as well as several other unusual experiences that she had, some that I were involved with. My buddy Jeff has a memorial website for Cassandra Fox. So I suggest that you go to that website to find out more about this beautiful goddess who had some incredible abilities and phenomenal experiences. It's really worth a watch. In the summer of 1980, I went to work on a pipeline. Majestic Wiley was the contractor working on that pipeline. I was on the bending crew. To earn some money to go back and continue writing my thesis. I was on a bending crew. That's me in the foreground. The guy in the yellow shirt is running the peg. The bending machine is over my left shoulder. I want to demonstrate to you what this would look like. So, if this is the bending machine, this pig would normally sit in the bending machine until a pipe would come in. That is the mark where the pipe's to be bent. So the pipe goes in, and as the pipe goes in, it stops at that mark. The man goes back, and then he would put it in the middle where he knew his mark was, where the bending machine was. The reason for the pig is that when the machine bends the pipe, it needed some force on the inside to prevent it from collapsing. We just wanted the pipe to bend, not to break. Here's a picture of a bending machine, not the one we use, but concepts is the same. The pipe goes through the machine. The pig is where the bend is occurring in the middle of the machine to prevent it from collapsing. So that's the idea of the pig. To have the pig roll in and out of the pipe, a bunch of ball bearings, steel ball bearings, were actually they were in between. This poor replica. There were steel bands that were tied together, and then the ball bearings were in between that would help that machine roll, and there was a bunch of them around the machine. And sometimes these bands broke, and when they broke, the ball bearings would therefore end up in the pipe. We had our pipe bent, and I was a laborer, and I would hook the cable back onto the pipe. We pulled it out of the machine, and because we were in Saskatchewan, it was quite dusty we were in people's fields, and instead of riding on the pipe, I'd ride in the pipe. So I'm inside this 3-foot pipe, just sitting at the back end as the caterpillar was dragging it back to its position. Could be anywhere up to a quarter mile away. And I noticed a ball bearing in the pipe. I said, oh my gosh. I took my left glove off, and there was another one. I picked it up, and I'm thinking, I got to show this to the foreman, let him know something's amiss. During that time, I was writing my thesis on out-of-body experiences. I'll call her by her old name. Angelique would come and visit me. She was a very adept traveler. She could leave her body whenever she chose. She would come and pick me up, take me on journeys. At that moment, I was aware of Cassandra's presence as an apparition, as a apparition of the living is what you call those. It's like a ghost, except the person's still alive. So they leave their body, and if you're perceptive enough, you could actually see that apparition, which I did. I'm holding this, and she was like 8-10 feet from the pipe, and we were moving, but it seemed as though she was always at exact same distance. I didn't see any as though she was walking, and just like she was just floating right along with the pipe, maintaining the same distance. I've got this ball bearing in my hand and wasn't even thinking about the foreman at the time. All of a sudden, I see this iridescent blue beam come from her solar plexus area and impact my hand with a force that I could feel, and the ball had split in half. I closed my hand. We had very good telepathy. I talked to her in my head. I said, hey, Angelique, if that's you, please do it again. I saw this blue beam come from that apparition again, felt the same impact on my hand. My bones were not affected, but one of the halves had split in half. You could see some of that in these pictures. The 3 tiny pieces to the left of the dime are the actual ball bearing that was split. The piece closest to the dime is half of the ball bearing, and the other 2 pieces are from the second split. You can see the sizes relative to the dime. The larger ball bearing is 12.5 millimeters or half an inch. I brought these pieces to IPSCO Research. They were the same people that actually made the pipe, and they had an electron microscope. I shared my story with them, and these are the electron microscope pictures that you see. The SI unit is the International System of Physical Units, including the metric system. It has prefixes to indicate multiplications or divisions by a power of 10. The researchers, using the electron microscope, use the SI units of measuring length. If you look at the bottom right of each photograph, there is a 1/4 inch line to represent 4 to 200 micrometers. 1 million micrometers equals 1 meter. Those researchers tried to copy the effect. They took a 1/2 inch steel ball bearing and they put it under liquid nitrogen, put it on an anvil, hit it with a hammer, and it just shattered into many pieces. And then they took another 1/2 inch ball bearing and hacksawed it in half, and then took a chisel, split it. Like wood, when you do that with metal, there'll be striations. Above the dime are some of the fragments from their endeavors to copy the splitting of the 6 millimeter ball bearing that I presented to them. Anyway, so they took electron microscope pictures of my ball bearing, theirs, and eventually, as you can see here, this is the write-up in my thesis. The researchers who used the electron microscope sent me the following letter. It appears in my thesis as Appendix 7. Regina, Saskatchewan, January 24th, 1983. Mr. Paul Coder, 878 Cameron Street, Regina, Saskatchewan, S4T2S3. To whom it may concern, examination fractured ball bearing. At the request of Mr. Paul Coder, an examination of a fractured ball bearing was conducted. Due to prevailing circumstances, only a cursory examination could be accomplished. The time and resources for a comprehensive analysis are not available. However, the following comments may be relevant. 1. No sign of long service fatigue fracture such as striations or corrosion. 2. There were no dents, scratches, or loss of flakes on the surface, which would have suggested the ball was subjected to impact stress before it fractured. 3. The fractured surface examination did not reveal the existence of inclusions, porosity, voids, or any sign of manufacturing defects. 4. The fractured surface did not show the classical feature associated with component overloading, such as pattern on the fractured surface to show the direction of fracture propagation. 5. Based on the above, the ball seemed to have been overloaded in a non-classical manner, which has led to material decohesion. And the document is signed by F. Hammett, M.A., Science Research Engineer, J. Asante, Ph.D., Senior Research Engineer, and Dale Buglas, Research Supervisor. And they have no way to explain it. Dale Buglas, the research supervisor, went to another independent individual, Walter Protz, at Co-op Refineries, I believe, and his microscope worked only 2 to 800 magnification, and as you can see written in that Appendix 6. Wally Protz sent me a letter dated December 24th, 1982. It reads, Dear Mr. Coder, ball bearing inspection. In the summer of 1982, Dale Buglas brought 3 pieces of a steel ball bearing. It was indicated that the pieces belonged to you. Physical inspection was done using a microscope with a magnification in order of 200 to 800. The 3 pieces, when assembled, appeared thus. And you could see the 3 pieces there. It's a circle that's dissected, and then one of the halves, again, is dissected. There were no obvious markings which would indicate what caused the bearing to split into 3 units. I've been examining parts of equipment, e.g. bearings of all types, gears, pistons, and etc., for 30 years. Never have I seen a bearing split or split symmetrically. At this point, I have no explanation as to why the bearing broke into 3 pieces as submitted. Sincerely, W. Protz, chemist and chemical and physical inspector of petroleum and petroleum-related products. He couldn't explain it either. That event occurred and has been recorded and beyond known laws of physics. I had asked Angelique what was her experience. First thing she said when she saw the ball was, oh my gosh, it's so tiny. She experienced it, she told me she experienced it as, 2-3 feet in diameter. And here is a quote directly from her. She said, I was with God and I asked God in the ball bearing to show you the power of God. So her consciousness was united with the universe, with God. She, which allowed this experience to happen. Remember, God is everywhere. In the ball bearing, everywhere. In you, in me. It's like the Force in Star Wars that transcends and yet permeates all of reality, all of existence. So we will never get any closer to God, to our higher selves, than we are right now. What we can do is get more aware of that aspect of ourselves. That spark of God that we are. Okay, thank you for listening, and please like, subscribe, share, be kind to each other.